Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Sunday's Coming podcast.
Hey.
I'm here with Kaleb.
Hello.
And Danielle.
Hi.
So glad you're here and made the trek all the way from California and showing up today to talk and hear your story a little bit. We had the pleasure of meeting each other just a couple weeks ago at a different conference and showing up, and very excited to be able to have this conversation. And even before we started recording, talking about like how you kind of just showed up in my feed one day. I'm like, who's this person? Like crushing it as a production person, another local church. And I'm amazed at how many people like that I don't even know. And so I'm very happy to have you here and have some conversations today about your role and stuff like that.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So, for those of you who may not know who you are, where are you from? Like, give us, whatever kind of backstory you think you want into kind of what you're doing now. And I'm sure that will spitball us into a bunch of different conversations.
People might catch on after like a moment or two that you're not from the U.S. Maybe they might get that hint. So maybe give us
an accent.
Give us that backstory.
I hope that there's still like a surviving accent because I get a little bit sad every
100%.
time someone's like, "Oh, I couldn't tell you weren't American."
Do you get that?
I do. I got it like last week.
Wow.
Yeah. So I will attempt to be
I
as
think
Australian
that
as
says
I
more
can.
about that person's observational skills than it does about you, frankly. But I do feel like you notice your own accent like shifting over time that you've been in the States.
Yeah, definitely.
Fascinating.
And for like understanding too, like if I'm counting down, I'll be like 4.
Well, I was gonna ask, what are the words that you like that are becoming Americanized, right?
What did I say? I said something literally the other day and they were, I was like, can you make me a mocha? And they're like, what's a mocha? Mocha. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It's funny when you say them in the American accent, it sounds wrong.
Yes.
I'm like, is that how we sound?
I know.
Ugh, that's terrible.
I love hearing I there's a handful of like British TV shows like Top Gear that I love watching, and they, as they're making fun of Americans and they talk in their American accent. And I'm like, that's really funny because they're like cheddar cheese, or just like whatever they want to say. That's just Chicago. That feels so Americanized and all that stuff. You know what's funny? I was thinking the other day, and I totally forgot to do this. I was like, I've always, and maybe I shouldn't want this, but I've always wanted to try what's called Vegemite.
Yes.
That supposedly
It's like
people over there
like
eat
it. My husband does.
What is it? I've heard it, but I don't even know what it is.
It's just brown paste from what I...
Yeah, it's like a yeast-based kind of like very salty paste. And if you do like a very like small amount of it on toast with a lot of butter, it can be good. I've never been a huge fan, but like I've had it at times and enjoyed it.
It doesn't sound very appetizing.
It's one of those ones
not.
that like it looks a bit like Nutella, and so one of the pranks is to like give somebody like a spoonful at a time. Like if anybody from Australia ever tries to do that to you, just
Watch out.
That's so funny. Oh my gosh.
Can you buy it in the States?
I'm sure I can find
have
it
never
on
tried.
Amazon.
Amazon, right?
we usually get some shipments from family. So
Nice.
That's wild.
yeah,
So your husband likes it.
yeah,
Is he also Australian?
yes,
Okay.
yeah.
It's fascinating.
So it would be funny if he was from the U.S. and he was the one who liked it, and you were
He
the
was
one
the
that
fan.
didn't.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's wild. So did you, how long were you in Australia for? Or how long did you grow up there?
Yeah. So I like grew up in Australia, grew up in a church, and that's kind of how I got my start in production. My dad actually was a camera director.
That's awesome.
And literally like from when I must have been 3 or something, first memory of him like sitting me on his lap, putting the very old headset on my head.
So fun.
It was like 4 CRT TVs stacked together. It was our multi-view. And he's like, tell camera one what to do. And that was I was like, oh, this is amazing.
That's so awesome.
I love it. So I grew up, they like let me on the team at 13. And then I kind of took a hard turn through like, I have to get a serious job, serious career.
Yep.
Got a serious degree in a completely unrelated field of accident forensics and investigation. And
Really?
then-
Wow.
Yeah.
For what, forensic investigation? Is that what you said?
Accident forensics
Oh
and
my
investigation.
gosh.
So
Okay.
like I did my internship studying like light aircraft crashes in New Zealand. Like
We could do a whole podcast talking about all
That's
of that
fascinating.
and what that was
yeah, I
like.
got a job in like a shipping and logistics company, and my husband, met my husband somewhere in there. We got married pretty young and moved to Sydney. And then he was working for Google in Sydney. We moved over here to kind of follow one of his managers. And we're like, we'll just be in the States for like 2 years, get a bit of life experience, you know. and then we'll move back home. It'll be great. Like, we're young, we're unattached, why not? And here we are 9 years later, bought a dog, got a house, like.
That's so crazy.
Bought a house, got a dog, the other way around.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Amazing.
That is amazing. It had to, like, the church that you had grown up in, it had to be like semi-large. I mean, I think I think of
They're
like
just
my church
bleeding
growing up,
edge
and I'm like,
of
we didn't have
doing camera
cameras.
stuff. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think of it as being pretty small, but I guess context is different. Like, there were pretty old cameras at the time. We upgraded over the years, and it's been cool to see the church kind of keep going in that.
Yeah.
But
So when you came to the States, did you come with a job or looking for a job, or what? And then how did that become being involved at the church in the role you are now?
yeah, so I obviously had this degree, which is kind of really based in safety and Australian safety laws. Moved to America, turns out that that's completely useless because
we don't believe in safety. We're like, safety, what's that?
No, for real. The safety culture is so different. It was like a culture shock to me. But
Yeah, you should go stand on the rails of that lift. It'll be fine. Don't worry about it.
yeah, no, but here like OSHA's like, ooh, OSHA, ew. But in Australia, it's like quite different.
Wow.
So
Fascinating.
I was like looking for a job. We found this great church. Like, we started our church hunt, and then the first one that we went to, because we were like, oh, we've heard this has Australian pastors, let's give it a shot. And we walked in and we're like, we found our people. Like, this is the place. So I started serving there and interning, and we're like, we could help in production. We've done some things. And eventually I was like, I can intern, help out a couple of days a week. It'll be great. And then my boss at the time just walked past me one day and was like, do you have your authorizations to work full time? And I was like, oh, no, I don't. It's like, it's not a green card. It's an E3, D, yada, yada. She's like, you should get that. And I was like,
That's so funny.
got it.
Wow.
So,
That's a very
American thing to say.
like
Don't do that.
nonchalant way to do a job offer, like very passive aggressive almost. Like,
That's so funny.
funny thing is she's Australian, so.
That's wild. Was that process hard? Like, I was just talking to a church the other day, and they're up in Canada, and they're trying to hire somebody from the US, and he was like, dude, it's going to take us like 6 months to like get like this guy's info. And I guess it's become more challenging than it used to be in the past, but I wasn't sure how simple it was with you already living here.
It took a while.
Okay.
Green card was a process, but we ended up getting our green cards like in the middle of COVID with no like interview or anything because COVID.
They can do it. Yeah.
So it was like blessing. Yeah.
Fascinating. Oh my gosh.
was there production staff at the church before you started in the role, or were you the first person kind of owning that scope in that area?
I think I was the first production person owning the whole area, because before that, like, it was very much kind of startup phase. There was somebody over creative, there was somebody over like worship, and they were all kind of holding parts of it.
Yeah.
So I think that was the first time we'd had somebody actually on production, and I've been in that role in the sort of evolution of it for 8 years.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that a little bit, because you had some volunteer experience when you were growing up in that context. Then you're taking this sort of, shift over to your professional career in forensics and accident investigation, right? Did I get that right?
Yep, close enough.
Something like that.
Yep.
And now you're being tasked with being the person owning, leading, being the subject matter expert of production for this church. What was it like, and what was the process of sort of like, as a leader and as someone that is having to wrap your head around all that stuff, how did you get the foundation, the training, the background? Like, what were the resources you reached for? Because a lot of people are in the same place.
Yeah.
They're a volunteer, they're an intern, their church says, hey, you're invested in our community, why don't you come on staff? And they're like, cool, I feel like I need to learn so many things, right?
Yeah.
Like, what did that look like for you, and how did you find those helpful resources, connections, mentors to really do a good job leading out in that way?
I wish I had an easier answer for this. It truly was learn as you go. If you don't like something, if you're like, there has to be an easier way, if you're like, I need to learn this new technology, like, read the manual, Google it.
Right.
Like, there is no
Yeah.
easy answer, which is a little bit,
Yeah.
I wish I had a better silver bullet
No,
for
it's
it.
great. YouTube University.
Literally.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think along the way, there's always like things that you can reach out to, things that you can take from other industries, other people around you. Like those worship and creative pastors taught me so much about like team culture and how to do the leadership side of it, that the tech is almost like secondary to that when you are, I think when you're the only person on church staff for that, the tech actually is secondary to your leadership and people management skills.
Yeah, that's good.
I think that's probably what has, like, even as I started to see you on social, like that aspect of it is so prevalent in the way that you talk about things in reels or whatever, of just like putting people first over technology. Like, obviously we got to have the technology to make things happen, but I think seeing your heart in that just from afar, not even knowing you, I was like, that's really awesome. So when you were like just getting started and even interning there, like how established was the church at that point? Because now it's tons of different campuses, all of that stuff, and even 8-9 years is a short period of time.
Yeah, no, it was. When I think back to those days, so we didn't have any permanent campuses at the time. We had Mountain View, which was then Palo Alto. We had San Jose, we had San Francisco, and when I came on staff, we were just getting ready to launch Oakland. So we didn't have any of the international campuses. Okay. It was still like so startup vibes. And I think that our biggest campus at the time was like maybe an average of like 400, 500, I want to say. And then the other, obviously less as you go newer.
Yeah.
So
you were part of a lot of the growth that has occurred over the last several years.
Yeah.
I'd be curious, as you think about the vision of the church and the things that we're kind of driving, where do we do campuses? What do they look like? A lot of churches do campuses in their general vicinity. Some churches do campuses sort of regionally, even beyond that. For you guys, and maybe you can speak a little bit more about this and like where you've done it, but you guys have now taken it international. So what did it look like, and what was the driver? What was the vision to say, hey, we want to actually bring what our church is doing, to other countries and beyond just the States? Like, how did that come to be? What were the drivers there, and what, kind of got that off the ground in the beginning?
Yeah. So our Pastor Adam Smallcombe, amazing, visionary, and loves putting great challenges in front of our church. So the first kind of big like expansion vision, we have like our annual vision gala, Vision Sunday, where we, tell the church what we're going to do together. And I can't remember what year this is. I will get it wrong if I say it. But he released like a five campuses in 5 years vision. Okay. And we're like, wow, crazy. Okay, fine. Did that. The next one was 5 campuses in 1 year. And we're like, okay, all right, cool. Which was very educational, because then we had to like build 5 racks at once and like figure stuff out at scale and all of that, which was great. And then I believe after one of those was, I think, one of our first international campuses in Rome. And that was just like a God connection. You'll hear them tell the story, and it's like, it was a connection over Instagram of all things, of like a pastor, and then they went there and like, it was just a God thing. Yeah. And then last year, pastor said, we're going to have a vision of 100 campuses in 10 years. So we're now at 15, 85 to go. And
how many years in?
1. Well, I mean, we're counting the ones that we had already to that point.
But
still 100 campuses by 2036. So,
wow. Oh my gosh. That's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, I have never been a part of a church that we had multi-site internationally. And I already know the challenges of like doing that 30 minutes down the street and how challenging just that is alone. Like how do you guys even like plan to do that? And like, I guess out of that 100, I'm assuming since a bunch of them are already international, that would still like be the case, and you guys doing more international versus domestic, or is it maybe would you say that you're trying to do those 100 campuses in primarily the US, or is that all over, or just kind of a combo of?
Not necessarily. What we're kind of talking about is key cities. So we are really looking for ones that are like in places of influence, capital cities, that kind of thing, where there are, because our church has quite a big, being Silicon Valley based, we have like a huge focus on like outreach, but also like innovation, tech, that kind of thing. So key cities is really what we're looking at.
Yeah. That's fascinating.
Yeah.
My gosh. And I'm sure we could go into this too, like the dynamic of Silicon Valley and even just like some churches that I've known in that area and the demographic differences of the people that attend their church. It's obviously a very, very wealthy area, but those are also like lots of executives and people that are working in super high pressure environments, and you know what that looks like even from a volunteer standpoint. And going like, man, I was talking to a church out there, maybe it was last year, and they were just sharing like in their context specifically, somewhere in the Bay Area, it was like we have a lot of attendees who would rather give money than serve, and go, I'd rather just do that because it's easier for them because of time commitments or whatever that looks like. And maybe that's different or not than where, you grew up, but like just wondering like, what is that volunteer like culture like? And any interesting dynamics that like you've just noticed in being there for this long?
Yeah. It's actually, I know that we're so blessed, and it's so funny to me actually the day jobs of the people that come through production. Like my husband works for OpenAI. My lead TD works for Lucid. We got Stanford. We got NASA. We like one of the guys that used to be on audio team way back, since moved on, but like was one of the inventors of the iPad. Like it's a little nuts. Yeah. Like the kind of people that can come through, especially because those in tech are sometimes also drawn to production,
of course.
being a tech team, which is pretty crazy. Like you can get some really interesting and like depth of experience people coming through, which is pretty fun.
So when you think about the international expression of your team, you mentioned earlier how that culture building is such a key thing of the way you're approaching production leadership. What have the challenges been in creating culture at distance, right? So you've got a campus in Dubai, you've got a campus in Rome, you've got a campus all over. Like, how are you interacting with those volunteers and those leaders to transmit the core of like what your church is about and the kind of team you're building, even when you're not very often physically together?
Yeah.
I don't know how often you go to all of those international campuses, but how do you approach that?
Yeah. It's definitely like my role is less hands-on with them. Like I'm not doing any of their rostering or anything like that. It's more kind of coaching and consulting as needed. And it's so funny the culture differences we've learned along the way of like when we launched all of our Italy campuses, we were like, we start on time. And they were like, Italy doesn't do that. We're like, no, we start on time. Yeah. And we went through this whole process of like teaching them our culture. And then we launched our first campus in Germany, in Frankfurt. And we were like, we start on time. And they were like, we wouldn't dream of not starting on time.
That's crazy. My gosh.
Wow. Is it all these campuses video venues? Or how do you guys handle teaching and that kind of thing?
Yeah, so it's more, we're all in the same series at the same time. International campuses run a week behind in some cases because of the time zones. We do one like video preach for English speaking per month. The rest is all local preach.
Got it. Gotcha.
So there's like a strong I guess moving together as a church still, like we're all still in the same series talking about the same things. The design should look the same if you're in Frankfurt or in Chicago. And then the preaching obviously is like stays feeling really local, which I think is cool.
That's awesome. So from a culture standpoint, do you guys have like regular meetings, team meetings? What does that look like to kind of keep everyone unified? I mean, you just mentioned English-speaking teaching. So obviously there's non-English speaking teaching. So there's like for you, there's probably language barriers between some of your counterparts in other countries that are doing production. Like, how do you guys stay connected, ongoing, week to week, month to month? What does that look like?
Most of them speak English, which is good as far as like team leads. So far, that could change. Yeah. But we find that actually email helps a lot because they can kind of take their time as well to fully understand
it. Plug it into Google
Translate. Calls as needed. Like I'll often get a call of like, hey, we're struggling with this aspect of culture, or like our screen stopped working and nobody here can figure it out. What do? And so I think that's really fun to kind of get to jump in on.
Do you enjoy like the troubleshooting, system tech type?
I actually do. I don't get to do like that much of it, but I love it when I do it.
Nice.
So-
That's good. Some people hate it, so it's cool to have.
I mean,
Get energy by having to track down the gremlins of the production system.
And it, like the world is so small these days. We can jump on any desk. I can be, trying to figure out something with ATEM on your computer while we're chatting.
Yep.
Do you have, like, to get into the production weeds, do you guys have standardized equipment in most of the campuses that are all trying to have roughly the same setup?
We have like kind of a couple different packages at the moment. So we're primarily like a Digico house, but we will run like Behringer Wing on smaller campuses as they start up.
Got it.
Pretty much all ATEM, which is nice for training, all Pro Presenter. Lights is very piecemeal at the moment, actually, depending on like inventory and location and country. But that's the only one that's very like country dependent.
Interesting. That's so fascinating. Yeah.
Do you build racks on in the US and ship them, or do you do them on site?
We did for probably like 7 or 8 of 15, but we've moved to not, which is good because I think it also helps having the local team get their elbows deep in the rack and figure it out a little bit, which is
There's
good.
something to be said about you being the one that sets it up and understands why something is plugged in. I use the metaphor of like, if I'm reorganizing my garage, like, and I do it versus you come to my house and do it. I go, well, where did you put this thing? I don't know why it's there or why you put it there. But when I do it, I know exactly where that specific tool is. And so when I need it at the time, I can run over and grab it. But that's, that is a different level of complexity in multi-site than so many people that we know here in the US, and just the challenges and differences. But there's so many similarities to that culture aspect of what you're talking about. The way that you guys sound like you interact with those teams, and then, like, what a cool opportunity. And I love the word you said was like coaching them, and like that ability to call somebody higher into whatever this next layer of production or creative leadership looks like in their context, in their church. And but I can't get over 100 campuses.
Well, I'm thinking, like, to that point, as you look at down the road of, hey, we're going to do this 100 campuses goal, right? It sounds like you've given some thought, maybe as a church as a whole, but maybe in production specifically, to what are those core distinctives of our team, and how do we boil them down in a way that's easily transferable as new teams come online, as new campuses launch. So for you guys, what are those key team distinctives that you find to be the core things to transmit when you're bringing new volunteers and teams in?
Yeah. I think the culture of your production team should always reflect the culture of your church. I don't think those should necessarily be two different things. So what I've done kind of recently is align all of those like kind of like production values that we talked about and to the distinctives of our church. And I'm going to blank out on this because now I'm under pressure, but defend, direct, deploy, and there's a 4th D that I am completely going to blank on. But basically it's all the things that you would kind of expect, right? Of like excellence, of taking people along the journey with you, of intentionality and passing on what you learn, truly like making this not just a weekend hobby, but actually something that we do to give worship and glory back to God. Yeah.
Well, and so many guests that we've had that have come in here, and we talk about this all the time, like somebody just like for you and your dad asking you to come and, sit on his lap and help video direct, like somebody asked all of us at one point in our lives, hey man, do you want to come back here behind front of house and do this when I'm 13 years old? And it was the same thing. I was like, I don't know what to do, but it sounds fun to me. And, turns into a career that led to, 10 years of ministry and now to here. And so it's just like our ability to call people into those things and not even knowing where that may lead a student or whatever that looks like, whether they're just running cameras to be your job replacement in 15 years, like, who knows, But I love that, and just the ability to, keep that core culture the same, and as you guys are growing like crazy.
For people that find themselves in a spot like that, where they've been invited, whether in a volunteer role or staff role, to step into some new role or leadership, like thinking back to when you started your journey in that kind of leadership responsibility, like what were some of the things that you found really helpful that your leaders did for you? Like what did it look like for you to be set up to succeed, for you to have space to grow and run. And looking back, like those were the things that, you know, if a leader's listening today to this and they're thinking of the teams that they're leading, like those were the things that they could reflect on. How do I do this for my team?
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That's a good question. I think sorry, give me a second here.
It's a very loaded.
I know, it's a really good
You
question.
can also do what not to do.
Yes.
That's also a good one.
Yeah. Yeah.
What not to do.
Yeah.
I think this is something I talked about like recently, but I think there can be such a pressure to look like we know it all and have it all together. And I know all of the tech things because I am the tech person.
Yeah.
But it's okay to be like, I don't know, but I'll find out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know, but I'll learn. And I don't know, but give me like 5 minutes and I'll have a crack at it. So I think don't be a know-it-all, but be a learn-it-all.
Yeah.
Was really powerful for me. I think there's such a tendency also to like, especially in the day and age of like social media, and I know this because I've started this whole social media thing, but there's such a tendency to look at everyone else's highlight reels of production on social media and be like, huh.
Yes.
But I think early on I was like in some kind of spiral about our rosters or something, and one of the people that I really looked up to, still do, I was like, is there any church that's like got it all together? Because he's like an integrator, obviously been around hundreds of churches, and he was like, no, none of them do.
None of them.
And I was like,
Yep.
actually,
Yep.
we might be okay,
Yep.
you know?
Yeah.
And I think that was such a like moment for me to get out of my bubble and go, no, we're figuring this all out. We're building the kingdom.
Yeah.
It's going to be okay. Yeah.
When like, you know, that ability when somebody asks you, hey, like whether it's in a creative meeting of can we do this? And I would always rather have somebody go, I don't know, but let me go call somebody, let me go Google it, let me go do something, than try to either act like it's possible or that they know all of the things and they actually really don't, or that they just say, no, it's impossible and we can't do that. And it's like, you know, Todd's book from I Love Jesus, but I Hate Christmas. I mean, it's just like, don't say no and then come back 2 days later and all of a sudden like do it and solve the problem, because it makes you look terrible. And I love that perspective in it, because it's just like, the know-it-alls and I don't know, production people, and this world tends to be filled with a lot of people who may or may not know lots of things and how they show up.
Well, it's just a human like desire to validate your position, validate your skill, like demonstrate that, yes, I'm in the right seat on the bus and like you can trust me and I know what I'm doing. Like that's totally natural, whether you work in production or, you know, education or manufacturing, or it doesn't matter. Like you want to look like you know what you're doing.
100%.
And
I think even like, especially when you're a woman, of like that, there is, thank the Lord, not in my church, not in my house, but when you interact with like vendors and that kind of thing, who maybe aren't as used to seeing a woman doing what they're doing, or you're on venue tours, that kind of thing. So many times I felt that urge to be like, don't look at the, like here.
Yeah. Interesting.
I'm the person you need to be talking to right now about this, not the guy who's like completely not in that area, but you're directing all your questions to anyway. I know
so
things.
Yeah.
And that's like such a temptation that you have to kind of beat. Otherwise, I mean, it is effective, because if you kind of like say enough tech words, then they go, oh, okay, got
know what
you.
you're
And then
talking
they'll
about,
start talking shop. But you can't do that.
Yeah.
You can't do
No, that's
that.
a great segue. Like maybe let's dive into that more. Like what has that been like in your experience navigating exactly the dynamics you just described, whether that's out with organizations outside of your church or even inside the church, or even with, you know, people that join your team as in a volunteer capacity that just, it's not been their experience to have someone leading in a production role that's a woman. Like how has that experience been for you? And like, what are the things that have helped you succeed in that space?
I think it's been so interesting because it's kind of always been the culture of our church and our house, is that it is very diverse. It is very like, we have amazing women pastors and women in leadership, and it kind of always has been that way, that people who come into our church and join our production team, like it's nearly 50-50 on my team of
That's awesome.
women to men. But my girls don't know any different. They're like, I'm like, you guys know this is not normal, right? And they're like, huh? Like, what about it? Even like recently when I was telling somebody, they're like, oh, what about the demographics of your team? And I was like, oh, we've got these ages and they're like, no, but like women. And I was like, oh yeah. That is actually pretty like different. So to them, it's not anything unusual, but outside it's quite different.
Yeah.
And I usually run into it most with like, I think church people are typically better with like taking you at face value, but vendors, rental houses, venues, it can be a little bit of an interesting time.
Yeah.
I know at one point, I think I learned that asking questions is a much better way to make that connection than telling things.
Yeah.
Yes. That's so good.
Yeah. We had I had to rent some fog machines from a local house for something a couple of years back. And we were coming up to like Christmas time, like it was around this time of year. I had like a cute little like pink sweater on with bows, blonde, show up in my little girl car. And I'm like, oh, cool, I'm here to pick up the things. And you could see this guy kind of like trying to suss me out a little bit. Of like, are you just...
Are you at the right place? Yeah.
And he was like, oh, take a look at our workshop, And he's like, oh, we've got this, now I'm going to butcher this like ATEM television studio or whatever for sale. And it was the old model that they've discontinued now that only did up to like 1080i or something, like it didn't do 1080p. And I was like, oh no, sorry, we do 1080p. That one's not going to work for us. And you could see the like,
Yeah.
and then he starts talking shop,
Yeah.
which is kind of like an interesting way to go. But I think it's just one of those things where the more that we do make these spaces, the more we do promote these teams, the more that women do put ourselves out there on social media as well, that we're going to kind of see the tide shift. And I think it is shifting already, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is cool.
Yeah, we've seen a lot, even just with some friends of ours locally here in Chicago with the Philo Core team and Aubrey and those women's cohorts that they're doing for lots of like women church production leaders all over. And, fortunately and unfortunately, like the story is very similar, to what you're saying of like the challenges of like trying to be maybe taken seriously, even though you might be way more capable than another person sitting next to you, and their ability to work through those things and just go, hey, like we are equally leaders in the church and crushing it in your own space, in your own church. And that's so interesting. And I wondered how much of that you had felt just in your season and how much you even feel that today. But
that's what kind of led me to start the whole Instagram thing.
yes,
Makes sense.
I was like lying on my couch doom scrolling
Yes.
of just like, why are there no people who look like me doing what I do? And like, honestly, I was having a bit of a whinge to myself.
Yeah.
And then I had a moment where I realized I might be a hypocrite because what am I putting out there?
Yeah.
Nothing. And it was about 6 months ago. And I thought, well, you know what? Let me just prove myself wrong here. Throw something out there, see if it catches on. And so that's how I guess popped out of nowhere because
that's so funny.
I
You
just
did just decided on your
Yeah.
couch
Do
one day
it.
to just do it. Like, isn't that how everyone starts
Yeah.
when they get going?
And it's not like it's more unique because it's a female, but like it was like, oh my gosh, like you guys are crushing it at what you're doing. And I'm like I can't remember which video it was. I was like, wait, what is that? Like I don't know, you're showing off some something in your mics or your workbench that had all your wireless stuff on. I was like, oh, that's really cool. I like whatever that is. But yeah, people's ability to be like, oh gosh, you're crushing it. And how often do we, but whether you're male or female, like end up sharing some of those things? And it's a dance of like, do other people watch you or me or anybody else that posts and just go, man, I'm never going to be able to achieve those things. But then when you sit down and have a conversation like this, you're like, I'm doing the same thing that you are, whether you have an extra zero at the end of your budget or not. It's like, we're still serving the local church. We're still empowering volunteers to use their gifts to serve that local church and the community that it serves. And I love hearing that. And I think we need more of it.
Yeah, I think the important thing that those kind of channels can communicate, hopefully that kind of content, is not the specific thing that you're doing, but the way you're thinking about your context and your team that led you to this thing. Because then if someone's in a different church context, bigger church, smaller church, different culture, different context, the question is not, do I just copy what church A is doing? But what was the thought process that they were applying to their situation that led them to solution? And if I apply that sort of thought process to my situation, what creative thing will I come up with that is right and unique for my context and not just a cookie cutter of what other people are doing? Because I imagine, like, for you guys, to go back to your campusing model, launching international campuses with all volunteers, there's probably not a lot of other churches that you can look to who are doing the exact same thing to just be like, oh, cookie cutter, copy paste, do that thing, it'll be great. But there's probably churches that are thinking about things in a way that you appreciate or that align with what you're doing, and you can take the mindset and apply it to your context. So I don't know if you guys have seen like what has been the evolution maybe of the production problem-solving mindset or a way of thinking about things as you've expanded campuses. Like, I'm curious if things look really different the way you think about your teams and your systems now than they did when you started the process.
I've been on a training warpath lately. Like, I've been thinking about, like, that's gone through so many iterations, and I mean, I'm sure a lot of people can relate. Like, I've written more docs than I can remember having written. When somebody's like, hey, is there something on this? I'm like, I'm pretty sure I wrote something. Let me dig it up. So I'm trying to actually really nail down the training process. And I think we've hit on a model that is, like, starting to work really, really well, which is more like 1 hour training based, in person, but like very frameworked, because I keep finding that, like, it's such a, like, lightning in a bottle thing of your best operator might not be your best trainer and your best trainer might not be your best operator. So how do you reconcile the gap and actually scale training when, like, your rock star operator is not in 15 places but knows a lot of things? How do you kind of scale that across campuses? So that's been a fun challenge at the moment, and I think we're getting towards working it.
Maybe say more about that, because I think training volunteers is always a perpetual challenge for production leaders as new people come on, as their team grows, or as people cycle through. So maybe say more about what the model or the mechanisms or the tools, like you mentioned, you've done some documentation, like how is that managed and transmitted and shared? Like, because I think that's something that a lot of people relate to needing a solution for. Like, how do I get a good, reliable, repeatable volunteer training solution?
So I've tried it a lot of ways. I've tried, like, in-person, like, one-day workshops. I've tried just do it all on the job on Sunday mornings. I've tried, like, go home and watch these 17 YouTube videos and you'll be a pro.
That's the way to do it, right? That was the best one? Did that work? No?
Not the best, not the best. But I think what I've found really well is breaking it into, like, a very obvious training arc for them of, like, hey, you give me 5 of your hours and I will have you operating whatever.
That's great.
So concentrated tiers. So audio, for example, we have 3 hours to be an audio assistant. And that goes from knowing nothing about audio, like literally what is sound, to being a useful member of team audio. You can, coil a cable, you understand signal flow, you know how to check a mic,
That's
that
awesome.
kind of thing, but you haven't put hands on a console. So you can do that, like, over 3 weeks at the start of your rehearsal, just get somebody to teach each hour. And then we have 10 hours to operating front of house. And then another, I think we said, like, 6 or 7 to monitors. And then we're building it out to, like, our main campus front of house, which is a whole different ballgame than kind of campuses where it's just like an S31 and that's it.
I love the intentionality behind that. Like, I remember years ago, a camp, like, I don't know if other churches would do this, but it'd be like, oh, this is the sign up for serving day. And all these ministries would be out in the lobby, and go, I got to go. And so I'd be like, crap, I got to go out there. And then I'd leave with a list of 15, 20 people. And I'm like, crap, now what am I supposed to do with all these people? And how do I do it in an intentional way that doesn't make them, like, they took the intention to sign up and go out of their way to do something difficult. And then if I am not able to follow through with that and, like, do and manage that new relationship really, really well and use the things that they're wanting to do and use their gifts to serve potentially for the first time in a church ever, But if I do that terribly and setting them up like very poorly for success, it's like, well, of course they're not going to make it, or I'm not going to have clear enough expectations, and I'll be like, oh, this isn't, working out. And so I love the intentionality of going, hey, here's the number of hours, because it's setting, it's not just like,
Not like
especially in audio.
Sometime in 2 months.
Oh my gosh, it's so loosey-goosey, like all the time, of what things do I actually need to know to be successful in this role, and the intention of going, we've said this before, I don't remember the phrase, it's like, I do, you watch.
You do, I watch. You go and do. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
That. Everybody knows what I'm talking
Which
about.
we do
Yes.
an amount of that.
I love that.
Which is great.
Yeah.
But I think the more that you can actually framework it, I think the better it works, especially if like it gives you the ability to go, okay, these are the concepts we're going to cover.
Yeah.
You will cover all of these. It's not like the difference between different trainers.
Yeah.
And I think too, it helps set expectations for the volunteer as to what responsibility they should expect to have. Because without that of like, here's the hours invested and the skills mastered to achieve a certain role on the team. If you don't have that, it's hard to be like, well, when can I run front of house?
Yes.
When am I ready? Oh, you don't think I'm ready? Well, why don't you think I'm ready?
Yeah.
It's very subjective.
I don't feel like you're ready.
You need to go through these 17 more hours before you're
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. And so it just avoids confusion or hurt feelings or just like awkward vagueness and in a cool way. Is there a competency component where you've done these 10 hours, but did you actually learn the things in the 10 hours and retain the things? Like, how do you assess the skills in the process?
So I have like kind of quiz questions after each one, which also makes sure that your trainer is like checking actual understanding.
Wow.
And so the idea is that if you have someone that you're like, oh, yeah, okay, you've done things before, I'm pretty sure you're going to be okay with this. Can you just like, let's just skip straight to the questions. Can you demonstrate understanding in all of this? Great. But we've been doing them kind of in classes so far. So some people will kind of skim through that, and other people will be like really learning it along the way. So.
And I'm assuming like over time to like ways that you can increase, hey, I'm a front of house guy, volunteer for you, and I've been doing it for 2 years, but I want to grow more and learn more or have more responsibility, whatever that looks like. And then not just using the beginning of their serving as the training piece, but like, hey, we're going to continue to add on to this. It's like we're always learning forever in what we do in production. And so, I just think I love the intentionality behind that. And I wish that I would have done those things so much better in the way that you're describing it, because I think at the end of the day, for anybody who's in those seats right now that feels the weight of that anxiety pressure of going, I have 10 people that I need to go email, and my boss, my campus pastor, somebody is going to find out if I don't reach out soon enough, and be very intentional with that. But how much easier would my life on the weekend be if I had volunteers that knew expectations, had clarity on what we expect and what we want them to do to step in? Because then my job is just like making sure all those volunteers are good on a Sunday morning, and not I have to run around and fill a bunch of different holes because I don't have enough people to do it, or I didn't take the time to train the people that were there well enough to take me out of being the one that has to do all of that work. And how much more work it is for all of us when we don't put in that work up front. And it's much easier said than done, but I think that's incredibly intentional, and I love that. And you should I don't know what you should do with that, but there's a lot of people there was a lot of people that would benefit from that. And learning what some of those processes are, because it's like, where do you even
Do an
start?
Instagram series on it.
I should.
There you go.
Maybe
you
I
could kind
should.
of highlight what it looks like in audio, lighting, video, whatever.
You should
And
teach that at Philo. You can talk to Todd.
Hey, Todd, Philo breakout idea.
Seriously, I'm not kidding. I used to do breakouts at Philo, and I would be like, what the heck are we going to have people come in and teach, and what are they doing, and what's their unique thing? But man, there's amazing resources out there today, MXU, Philo, YouTube, books, all the stuff that wasn't there 10 years ago. But now it's like, what's the next iteration of knowing these things, and culturally of who you are as a church production person, and me and everybody else in any other role in a church, but going, now how do we share resources like that to just be more intentional with what we do with volunteers?
Because again, to go back to what we were talking about earlier, it's not about copying what you're doing. Hey, in your context, you can train to be an A2 in 3 hours.
Yes.
Okay. The point is not, in my church, you can train to be an A2 in 3 hours. It's to say, hey, in my church, how do I put helpful expectations and training processes around what I am expecting from a new volunteer to get them to whatever I think an A2 needs to be in my context.
Yeah.
Maybe for you, it's only 1 hour. Maybe for you, it's 10 hours because your system's super complicated. Maybe you don't even have A2s.
Exactly.
Right? But how do you think about it from a strategic standpoint?
I think the fun part about this is that I didn't know all of necessarily the like higher level material that we've been putting together. So it's been a very collaborative process that like I've helped drive with kind of the leads and the key like knowledge holders in those areas of like, okay, let's list for you, like let's get on a call, let's list out everything that, assuming that somebody has this level of knowledge, here's the things that like I could just stab in the dark. I know that they're going to need to learn to get to here. What else is missing from this list? And then they fill that in. And then we go, okay, do you think you could teach this skill in an hour? And they're like, no, 2 hours, and we'd have to split it up into this, this, and this. And we literally continue that way through like this whole conversation. And by the end of it, like I'm learning things, but also they're confident that they can teach that chunk. They're confident that this can get you from A to B. And we actually have it in a written format. And then, you know, you can go in and add meat to that for like, we have like a trainer's guide. So what we're doing is like not, it's not written based, it is hands-on because I found that that is the most effective way to teach people. Totally. But your trainer has a guide of like, refer back to this for like these definitions or like,
that's fantastic.
This is how to do it, but teach this in person for this hour.
That's so great.
That's really cool. To dig into that more real quick, because just to give people context who are listening to this, you're just describing kind of the collaboration that you do as you're developing the training. But remember, you're the only production staff person for 15 campuses all over the world, managing hundreds of volunteers. Okay, so I got churches that say to me, they have like 1 campus, 2 services, and they're like, I can't do this. I'm the only staff person. Church ministry is hard, but clearly having the right systems and the right processes and the right perspectives and the right culture can make it easier, right?
100%.
So maybe just talk about that a little bit. Like you're able to clearly operate at an expansive level as the only paid person, not by trying to do it all yourself, not by being the only gatekeeper to knowledge, not by holding all the keys. Like, I don't know, monologue on that for as long as you want to, because there are people that maybe just for whatever reason, maybe they haven't seen it done effectively or they haven't had the right sort of just, you know, epiphany on how to do it in their context. But there are ways to think about your context that can unlock potential without being like, I just need to hire a team of 5 staff to do this with me, right?
Yeah. Yes. I think you can what I've gotten really good at is probably seeing leadership potential and potential in people and offering opportunity for that. And that's just leadership, right? But I think that something that you have to do before you delegate any tasks is you have to actually love the task first. So, for example, I have an admin team of four girls, and they handle actually all of the day-to-day operations of production. So they'll handle rostering, they'll handle calendar invites, they'll handle texting people and getting them to come to rehearsals, they'll handle like special events. We have a full kids experience that's basically a full campus production. So rostering that, also young adults. So
and are those 4 supporting all campuses around the world or just
Mountain View? Actually.
Just one campus.
One campus.
But then do you replicate that at other campuses?
As much as we can.
Yeah, when needed,
The idea in that is that I was handling all of that, but instead of trying to find 100% me, mini me that I can train up that can do everything that I do, what you can do is go, oh, this person can do 20% of what I'm doing in that. Maybe we can partner them up with somebody else who can do 50% in this thing. Maybe we can partner themselves up with this thing, and suddenly you're running at 200% capacity. So when you get more things into the hands of a team and you learn to delegate, you're not like getting things off your plate, you're putting them on someone else's altar. And that is how you can actually run at a high level and do those things in like an operational context. And then technical context is almost the same thing, but in a different way, right? Of you have to know the why, the vision, how it should look, like where we're going, and then help let other people get us there.
Yeah. It's the intentionality of that and bringing people alongside you who may like, there's the reality is we all have gifts that we are good or we're not good at, whether you're great at admin, whether you're not good at admin, and go, there are other people that can help you with this and not just be the lone tech director that's like, woe is me, my church asks too much of me, I can't do this, I can't do this with all my volunteers, whatever. And even if you don't have a salary for another staff member to come in and be a part of your team to come and do that, to go, we have 4 incredibly capable people, whatever that looks like, that going to give 20% to, 50% to, all of that. And then allowing those people to then do those same things with other people below them.
Yes.
And I love like the ability, because I'm assuming you also are doing that in like team leads for audio, video, lighting, whatever that looks like, producing. Because if it was all on your shoulders, like who could do that? Like it's too much. Yeah. And thinking about it in that way versus jumping to, well, my executive pastor didn't approve the salary that we wanted for X person on my team. And to look at it that way and go, I think that's more of what the Big C church should be than just keep hiring a bunch of staff members to do that delegation for you.
I'm curious from a sort of programming or like operational standpoint around like what events actually look like, how many there are, how long they last, what days of the week they are. Do you sense like as you're planning things, ministry things as a church, you're planning things around the fact that you're volunteer run? Or do you feel like those two things actually don't really have a lot of effect? You're just doing whatever you do and the volunteers just do it, you know?
I think the second one, we run a pretty packed calendar, which is cool, but I think it also teaches you how to kind of manage that really well in terms of maybe person who's new is time to step up for this one thing so that we can have somebody else focus on the next thing. Like we have an insane December. We're doing like a kids thing on the 7th, a spectacular on the 14th, the candlelight on the 21st, and a all Bay Area anointing service on the 28th. So like it's full on, but we're managing it really well through like rehearsals earlier, and rehearsals are a big part of the culture of what we do as well. In that worship and production, we're very one team. I could get started on the worship and production culture for a long time, but
that's great.
We as one team, like you're here on a Thursday unless you're not. And that lets us focus on, they're never just like Sunday rehearsals, but they're usually like for events or workshops or trainings or like bigger things is what we do together on Thursdays.
That's great.
So,
well, now go ahead.
No, yeah, I was just going to say, and like we've also talked about this in other episodes, where just like the community that's built during those times, whether you're full on rehearsal and everybody's only talking on headset, or the 10, 15 minutes of mingling after the fact, is so like intentional for longevity, I think, for church teams all over the place. And yeah, it's a night of your week that you're not at home. And it's like the benefit of that compared to, I just want to be home at 5 o'clock or whatever that looks like, is huge. And the culture that can build that spreads very wide very quickly when you have those intentional times for rehearsal or whatever.
100%.
Well, now I'm going to make you talk about production and worship team culture, and how they're one team. So you just opened up a whole can of worms there. So talk about that. What does that look like in your context? What are sort of the like non-negotiables of what that means for how you operate and what the relationships look like? Because that's a huge topic. I mean, so many churches are trying to figure out what does it look like for, especially in longer standing churches that have a lot of history. Unfortunately, frankly, those relationships haven't been always managed the best over time. And so sometimes they're in a place where they're trying to repair relationships and set a new direction and build new culture. So what would you say about that?
Yeah. It's one of my don't get me started topics, because I'm really passionate about this. I've like seen those churches where it's like weirdly conflicty, and I'm like, I don't want no part of this, because I think there can be a lot of like blame. So I think at the start of it, or like in starting to repair that, it has to start at the top. Like it has to start with the two leads of worship and production. I think that relationship has to be built so intentionally. as the first thing before anything else. And then it can start to cascade out, because if you genuinely get a love in your heart for that person, if they're genuinely your friend, nobody wants to see their friend look dumb on stage. Like literally nobody, if that's your actual friend.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to call their friend
out. They
out.
might prank their friend with Vegemite and say what they're telling, but not make them look dumb on stage.
Yeah. So I think it has to start with the two of you first, and then literally mirroring that out loud of like, hey, that's so great. Man, would you give it up for our production team? Like, did you know they came in on Thursday and like redid the whole stage? Or like, wow, how good was our worship team today? Like, there has to be an out loud culture of that. I think there also has to be a culture of like, we say to our audio team, like, you can't ask somebody to turn their guitar down before you know what they did on the weekend or what their kids' names are.
Love it.
So I even like, we do a huddle at the end, and I'll excuse our audio team if I can see that they're up talking to worship, because that debrief is like so important. We do as much as we can together, because like we huddle together, we have our rehearsals together, we'll have like team nights together. And even when we play, you know, fun team games on team night, we will never pit worship against production, even in a game. We'll scramble up the teams and have like team A versus team B and, you know, still have friendly competition. But I never even want to like, as a joke, get those teams used to being in conflict with each other. So it's really cool. And our teams like love each other now. Our last conference, they were like applauding for each other on stage. Like you couldn't shut them up. They were just like going for it. And we also, I guess, manage a lot of the feedback really well, in that will go up and then the leads will talk about it. It's not like your camera person is like, hey, you were really pitchy today. Or like vice versa. Right, so we kind of keep that really like honoring, and then we're able to actually like give useful feedback and solve things at that level, rather than, you know, it being conflicty all throughout.
Totally. Yeah, it's very easy for those conversations to become maybe it starts bitterness between, you know, teams. Like I think we've all seen that in our own context or other people's churches, and just how fast that can turn a team against each other. Whether it's oh my gosh, my presenter person didn't fire lyrics fast enough, and the worship leader didn't know the lyrics, and they were, you know, fumbling around on stage waiting for us, and it goes both ways. And guitar player's amp's too loud, whatever that looks like, doesn't listen to me, all your tone's too harsh, whatever. But that relationship is so important. And I you know, there's so many people that we have said that, but it still is a thing. It's still a problem. We've been saying that for 10 years, from Lee and Jeff and all those guys that started having these really open conversations about what it looked like for you know, worship and production team to be one, and it's still not the case everywhere at all.
Well, I think the most interesting thing that you said, I really want to like point out for people, is the out loud part of the culture. Because it's one thing to be like, oh yeah, I like that person, like internally, like like internally, I'm not mad at them, like I think they're doing great. But if you don't say it out loud, that person doesn't know. And also the team around you don't know that that's how you feel. Like your counterparts don't know that like that's the way the kind of culture we're trying to build. And so just really remembering, like, if you don't say it, it doesn't exist. Like for the people around you, doesn't matter what you think internally, if you don't say it out loud, it actually doesn't exist for your team or for the others. So true. But like, just think about it in life. Like if you're in your family, in a relationship or whatever, like if you don't say it, it doesn't exist. Right? Like the intentionality of your words to create the reality that you want people to experience, not just keeping it inside and thinking that they are a mind reader and understand what you think inside. And so I think that's so easy to just fall into that trap of like, oh yeah, don't they know? Like, well, no, it's been like 6 months since you guys talked about it. So no, they don't know. And you know, you've talked a lot about vision. Like that's like how many times have we heard people talk about you have to repeat a vision. It's the same thing with culture, appreciation, recognition. You know, repetition. That intentionality.
No, 100%.
It's very easy to have that be lost if it's not being said all the time. And saying that from a vision and culture side. And, you know, we've said many times, like, clarity is kind, and providing that to people just only helps build that culture long term. And there's a lot of lot of churches that could use some of those things
Mm.
and doing more of that and just being called back to that. And I would just say, like, man, if you're at anybody listening, if you're at a church that feels like that, like, you have the ability to start to change that culture today.
Yes.
This Sunday, this rehearsal next week, whatever that looks like, and to start doing that intentionally. And people follow that. Like, whether it starts in one area that becomes normal, and then all of a sudden worship team starts doing this, communication start doing this, whatever other department or ministry can see that and latch onto that and go, this is a much better way to do ministry. And so let's do more of that.
Yeah.
We've talked a lot about the team and the church and sort of like the community things that you've been working on. I'm curious, as you look at the next year, we're heading into 2026, like, for you as a leader, thinking about what you're developing in yourself or the challenges that you're facing, like, what are you working on as you're thinking about the next season? What are some challenges or growth edges that you're thinking about personally?
I think scaling things well is going to be obviously a really big focus. And I think every time that we've scaled up, we've like put more focus on it. But I know that the next leap and the next stretch, and probably campuses that don't speak English and all that kind of thing, is going to start to really necessitate some really good scaling practices and really good culture. So that's on my mind. I know we're in like a bit of a spring season of production at like my main campus right now, where we've got a lot of new people. And so how are we developing and deepening that community in this season? I think I've gotten used to like the kind of ebb and flow of seasons a little bit, and I'm able to really quickly identify, like, hey, we're in spring right now. We've got a bit of a boom. New people are joining. How do we get that culture deep inside them? How do we get them deeply connected to the team so that they can kind of have the longevity in ministry that we want to see? And
That's awesome.
Both of those.
Yeah. And I just think, like, how many of those people, can see that call on their life from being called into, potentially being called full-time into ministry through serving on your team. And just like, we were saying, like, at the beginning of the conversation, like, how many churches were like, well, you're here and you're pretty good at this job, so you want a full-time job? And, whatever that looks like, and just going, like, they're right in front of you, and use that to the best potential you possibly can, and bring people alongside you who, can fill the gaps in some of our own leadership, whether it's, hey, I'm not good at this thing. There's other people that on your team, I promise, are really good at it, and they may do that full time for their job. Go ask them to help, because they would be happy to.
And they love it. That's right.
Because it gives them joy, even though it might not give you joy to go schedule people on Planning Center.
Yeah.
Like, they're like, yes, I love spreadsheets. I want to do all this stuff and manage the roster of our whole team. And so using that to your ability is like, just go do that. Yeah. They're right there.
That's awesome.
Totally.
Yeah.
As you think about, people in all, big churches, small churches, staff heavy, volunteer heavy, but leading out in that production space, if you were to kind of boil down our conversation to an encouragement for them, anything that comes to mind is like just something, even as, thinking about heading into the Christmas season, and just, you mentioned all the December events you guys have coming up. That's kind of common for people in that space, but I don't know, what's something that you would just encourage them with as you think about their situation?
I guess to boil all of it down, it would be something along the lines of, the solution that you're looking for isn't to like kill yourself trying to do this Christmas thing. It's not to, learn more things. The solution might actually be a person, and they might be right in front of you, just like you were saying, of actually God has gifted you the people. Yeah. The Lord will build his church, and that person and that solution might actually already be in front of you. What are you seeing? Yeah. What could you see?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Love that.
If people wanted to connect with you, find you on social, where would they find you? What's the best way to, reach out if they got questions about anything?
I want to hear more about your
talked
training program and how
Oh my gosh, seriously.
Oh no. At Danielle Iselin, my Instagram handle, and I have a very poor presence everywhere else. So Instagram's probably the best place to be. DM me. I promise I will get there eventually and read it and
That's great.
chat back.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And if we have any international listeners, look up VIVE Church and see if they have a campus near
Yeah, no
you. You
kidding.
can check it out.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you again for coming out here and having this conversation. I think it's so prevalent and needed in, just today in general. And so many churches will benefit, I think, from learning some of those things and just walking through the same things that you did and approaching it in a different way. Because I think we've all been in challenging seats in our own ministries and being able to lead at a really, really high level. And yeah, I think everything you're saying is fantastic, and I'm excited to see growth for you guys. And looking back in 9 years, seeing 100 campuses,
85 more to go.
85 more to go.
Awesome.
So wild. But anyways, thank you again. And for all of you listening at home or in your car or wherever you are, we will see you all next week. And good luck as you are going into your Christmas rehearsals and services. And yeah, it is going to be here before we know it. So anyways, we will see you all next time. Thanks.